appreciate a lot of the things you just got through saying. But I'm really getting a little tired of reaching across the aisle to John McCain and Joe Lieberman and Ben Nelson and not standing up for what Democrats believe in. We're talking about deficit reduction, which is a Republican trap, and we have a huge gaping hole in the heart of this country called unemployment. Nothing's being done about it. And I don't want to hear about retraining, $5 billion, latest GAO estimate of money wasted on retraining. We don't need retraining. We need jobs. What's Washington going to do about that?
Well, first let me tell you that I think that my priorities may not always be the same as some of my friends across the aisle, but I'm not ashamed of working with Jeff Sessions or any of those guys. I think that's what we need in this country, honestly. On the other hand, I don't think we should be cutting education while we continue to write $1 billion check or more. I'm not talking about charging them more in taxes. I'm talking about writing them a check, the most profitable corporations in the world, which is the oil companies. I think our priorities are not always lined up right. I think, cutting the education programs that they're talking about cutting, why they don't even look at the waste in the Pentagon. Set aside our war effort. We've got to make sure we protect our men and women that are in harm's way with everything they need. But just in the Pentagon itself, it's $550 billion. Believe me, we can find 10% there. And I would like to see those cuts, and we need to be all in. Now, I disagree with you that the deficit is a Republican trap. It's not. If we don't do something about our long-term debt, we will be a second-tier nation in about 20 years.
Let's get some revenue coming in.
Okay, but let me get to the jobs part. We, I think, did some emergency things to help with unemployment benefits, to help the state stabilize.
How's that putting back to work? That's benefits.
No. Let me finish. The stimulus that we passed was in parts. One of it was a big tax cut to working people. Part of it was unemployment insurance. Part of it was money we sent to Jeff City. So this school district didn't have to lay off teachers. Believe me, you know what they cut in Jeff City? Because of the crisis, they cut $800 million. You know what they would have had to cut if we hadn't sent federal dollars? $4 billion. Now, how many teachers do you think would have been added to those unemployment rolls if the state of Missouri had to cut that much? So we stabilized the states. I love my friends in Jeff City talking about how evil the federal government is, and they balance the budget every year with federal money. Almost 1/3 of the money they use in Jeff City for the things we need in Missouri are federal dollars. So I don't think those folks in Jeff City want to say to Washington, we don't want your money anymore, because I think the people in Missouri would be hot about that. I think we want our highways built. I think we want help with health care costs and all of those things that the federal dollars represent. Can the government create jobs? No.
Yeah.
No, because long-term, the fiscal health of our nation, our economy, is about private sector job creation. Can we get out of the way by shrinking some of the regulations, by incentivizing certain technologies, by doing some stuff in the green space that really begins to prime the pump so more jobs are created there? Yes, we can. But I will tell you, I know this is not what you want to hear, but I cannot believe that the right way to get us straight is by the federal government expanding its footprint when it comes to job creation. This has to be private sector. The private sector has always been why we've had a middle class, why we've had a strong economy. It's the private sector. And that's why it's not going to be easy to get out of this mess in terms of jobs. And it won't happen overnight. And yes, there's pain. And we have to keep that safety net there. But we cannot, the jobs that are government payroll jobs are not healthy long-term for our country. And that's why you and I probably disagree is about how much more Washington should be doing in terms of putting money through the pipeline for job creation.
One more thing, and then I'll be quiet. Corporations are sitting on $2 trillion in cash. That's what's admitted to. The private sector is not going to create a job.
Yes, they will.
Just not. When? When we're all working for Chinese wages?
No. Here's the deal. When they think they can make money with that money, they're going to invest it. And the government can't tell them what to do with their money. We just can't do that in America. We've never done that, and we shouldn't start doing that. Our government cannot tell private people what to do with their money. As it relates to corporations and the fact they're sitting on it. I mean, what would you have us do? Pass a bill, all you corporations out there that have $2 trillion on the book? You've got to start spending that and creating jobs. The government can't do that. Not in this country.
You know what I have you do? You support a $600 million plan to expand the arch, which I happen to agree with. I think that's needed. Okay? We have a country that is a business section that is bound and determined to cut out the middleman, meaning the American worker. They just want to send the jobs overseas.
Well,
how about spending some of that $600 million on directly hiring people in the metro St. Louis area? Cut out the middleman.
Well, I don't think the government needs to hire more people. What the government needs to do is get out of the way and let the private sector begin to hire more people, which it is. We created 1 million private sector jobs. We've created private sector jobs. After Barack Obama had been president for about 2 or 3 months, we were losing close to 1 million jobs a month. After 2 or 3 months, we began consistently creating jobs in the private sector. We created 1 million jobs in the private sector last year. We will create even more than that this year. So but by the way, I agree about the worker. I mean, we've got to make sure we still have a middle class here. That's why some of us, including some Republicans, have looked at the Fiscal Commission report and said, our tax code's crazy. 75% of Americans don't even itemize. Which means these books that are this tall and this wide are all full of goodies that lobbyists have gotten for folks that really aren't the middle class and aren't the folks that have made this country great. We need to clean out all those goodies in the tax code. That would lower the corporate tax rate, it would lower the individual tax rate, and it would make America much more fair in terms of our tax code. And by the way, we've got some Democrats and Republicans that are on board with that. These will be hard votes. Because every one of those goodies somebody owns, right? I mean, I say we need to quit letting rich people deduct the interest on their second home. Well, realtors don't like that. They want to sell more houses, right? They don't care whether it's your second, your third, or your fourth. They just want to close a house. But we've got to do things like that, so we're going to have to cast some tough votes. Thank you. Thank you for being here.